Hi everyone, this is Dango here from Rocky Valley server. In this game, Langrisser Mobile, we know that the gear is very important. So in this video, I'm actually going to talk about the two gear summon banners. Even as free-to-play players, you may be interested in one of those two banners. So the first banner about gear summon comes in Sakura War, and all these gears in Sakura War will be available in like Dragon Ruins and in like Timeless Trails after the at the end of the Sakura War. So they will appear at a different name, but the effect will be totally the same. But in this gear summon, you will basically get the first weapon is actually a sword, which is like soul sword, and the basic effect is 8% of attack and skill. So actually, a sword that 8% of skill is kind of rare. And what skill does is that it will increase the crit chance of your character. So this is actually a very interesting sword it can be good for Leonhardt if you are going for like a crit Leonhardt. Remember that Leonhardt's passive has some crit, not passive but his heart bound gives him some crit chance. And if you also have like accessories with crit chance, and you know his base skill is not that low, and with this extra 8% skill, his AoE can actually crit you at a very high chance. And yeah, and after you like critically hit the enemy, it will like remove one buff, and then it will apply one debuff. So this sword is basically very strong if you have a critic attack on your enemy. So this is like very interesting, and this skill from this sword actually works for AoE. This is why I say this sword actually works well for Leonhardt. And the other gear, which is actually an armor, and this armor is also very interesting because this armor is actually very good for Jaguar. The reason is that we know that the biggest enemy for Jaguar right now is mages. Lots of good mages like Lana and Rachel can one-shot, Jaguar if your Jaguar is not well built. Or, like a top Lana or Rachel can one-shot like a mid-level Jaguar without any problem. But with this armor, your Jaguar can actually survived from being one-shot by mages, because what it does is that it aids defense and magic defense, which Jaguar relies a lot on defense and magic defense. And then before being attacked from a range attack, it will actually deal a fixed damage, and the fixed damage according to 1.5 times the magic defense. So if you have like magic defense pretty high for your Jaguar, and you use this armor, you can actually deal a significant amount of damage to your enemy. And the more important thing is that we know that lots of these mages, they really rely on full health points to attack you, right? This is because one of the tag from the sorcerers, because those troops, like if we check the troop that I'm talking about is these sorcerers, right? So when the troop has 100% health points, the attack and magic defense actually increase by 45%. This is a very significant amount, and this is why Rachel and Lana hit so hard, and sometimes Puzzle hits very hard as well, just because at 100% health points, the attack increase is like 45%, which is super significant. And with this armor, you can break this tag. Those mages will not one-shot your Jaguar if you use this armor. So actually, in Season 1 of Apex, like in later Season 1 and in Season 2, this has become the best armor for Jaguar instead of the Last Ride. Last Ride is still okay, but not as good as this armor. The other thing is a headgear, and this headgear, the effect is that at the end of the action, if the troop health point is less than 50%, not troop health point, but the overall health point is less than 50%, then you will heal 20% of health point immediately. So I don't really like this headgear. Like this headgear is mostly used for like assassins and archers and flyers. But you know, compared with this headgear, if you have like King's Crown, it is hard for me to replace King's Crown with this headgear. And later, Zoreda's special weapon, Zoreda's special gear is also a headgear, and it's just a much better version of this one. So basically, I mean, this is kind of a close pull from the last gear summon banner. So if you pull lots of that, rip. So yeah, this is kind of, you know, a thing you really don't want to summon in this banner. The accessory from this banner is very useful as well. It's this teddy bear. So this teddy bear is actually very interesting. It aids the healing effect by 15%, which is essential for healers like Tiarius or like let's say Sophia. Yeah, like they cannot heal well without like increasing health effect. And what it does also is like when your healer casts a single target support skill, the effect of that skill actually +1. So this is very useful because, for example, if Tiarius is trying to use attack blessing on a target, you know, usually you just has 2 turns of effect, right? And your enemy can just wait 2 turns without reaching your like threatened range. But with this attack blessing buff, will have like with this gear, attack blessing will have 3 turns effect. So in this case, you will have more chance to reach your enemy, you know, before the buff is gone. So this is especially very important for Tiarius, and this is also very good for Alice because Alice has a like Alice Burst skill, which is basically a teleport. But after teleport, you actually gain extra damage, and you know, you have extra damage reduction, and that one lasts 2 turns. With that teddy bear, that one will also increase like the effect time by 1 turn. So basically, you will have 3 turns of like having 20% of damage dealt. So this is like very important for Alice as well. But it is kind of like, you know, a trade-off. Like if you use this headgear, you cannot use like holy runes or like even, you know, ISR runes, which means that you will not be able to immune from fixed damage, or you know, you cannot be able to immune from silence, you know. So that is kind of a trade-off. If you really like use this gear, you should know it very clearly and be very careful about your positioning, and make sure that your Tiarius or Alice will not be hit by Basil, like Basil's black hole especially. Yeah, if your healers are silenced and you are using teddy bear, you know, it is kind of GG for you. Yeah, right. So this is a very good accessory, but you have to be very careful about the positioning. So that's all about the first gear banner. And again, all these banners, you know, all these gears, they will appear in the like timeless trail and dragon runes, but just as a very low rate. For example, in my friend's account, this is actually the free-to-play version of the Soul Sword, right? They have exactly the same effect, but this is the only one that my friend gets. And this is the, you know, this is the free version of the this headgear. Yeah, but my friend get 2. But you know, this is kind of the thing you don't want to get from this summon. It really doesn't do much to your team. And yeah, and the second gear banner is actually very interesting. It's like a gear made from like ancient Chaos Beast. Yeah, so all these gears has a story with all these, you know, ancient Chaos boss. For example, you have this I think this is armor or something. Yeah, this should be this is armor. This is a hammer, and this is also an armor. Oh, this should be a headgear. Yeah, this is the headgear, and basically this headgear is like Teal's like yeah, like Teal's angry or something, yeah, furious, yeah, whatever, yeah. But basically this headgear is the one you really want to get from this summoning banner, and this is a super strong gear. So basically what it does is at the end of the turn, if you didn't attack, then you will have a buff that will increase the skill damage by 4% and increase the the counter attack damage by 4%, and this 4% it is at level 2 because this gear is only at level 20. So I believe at level 5, which is like when you like level up the gear to 50, this should be plus 8%. So basically, if you didn't do any damage in this turn, then you get extra 8% of damage from skill in the next turn. So this is going to be very good for character like Leonhard or even Elven, right? Elven will if Elven has 8% more damage dealt, then he can kill any tank. Yeah, and if your Leonhard has this effect, then this AoE damage just get boosted by like 8%, which is pretty significant. So this is basically, this is basically the gear you really want to summon in this gear banner. That being said, Leonhard is not top tier anymore in Season 2, just because the meta shift, from AoE meta to kind of single target meta. But we don't know what is like Season 3 going to be looks like. We are having like a very interesting AoE character, which is Shoujo Jessica again. So maybe with her lead and with some 3C skill, AoE can return back to the meta in Season 3. So we don't know yet, but this gear is definitely one of the most interesting gear in this gear summon. And the hammer is kind of disappointing. Actually not too bad. So the hammer's effect is that if you actively kill an enemy or your friendly unit died, it will remove one of the debuff from yourself and then heal 10% health points, and then gain effect like damage dealt damage dealt increased by 10% and lasts like 1 turn. So basically, if your like friendly units, like if your allies dies in front of you, and or if you like kill an enemy, you will deal more damage the next turn. So the like it is kind of hard to trigger the effect, right? You have to like either your allies will die, which actually means like you kind of you're kind of in some disadvantage, or you have to kill others first. I mean, if you already kill others first, then you already kind of have the disadvantage, so it doesn't really matter. But what I'm thinking about is that because like if your allies dies, the allies die actually include the summon units. So what it does is that we know that summon is not going to be useful in Season 2 because they totally changed the way how summon work. But you can still summon, not to control the turns, but to control the effect like from this hammer. So there is the other character that also have similar effect that works very well with Gizalov, and I think this is probably his best armor. Yeah, but right now at Season 2, not lots of people in the Chinese server are trying this strategy, but I really think this could be a very interesting to play this game. So with like summon from Gizalov or like even Basil, and then like these summon units died and trigger this effect, your hero gains like 10% extra damage. That is not a like small amount. Could be very relevant. And the other armor is kind of boring. This one just like increase the defense, and the chance of getting the critical hit decreased by 10%. And if you check here, this is armor basically a heavy armor, like only Lancer, infantry, and cavalry units can wear it. And those units generally don't super care about like being crit or not. So yeah, I like right now I can't see how you use that one. The other is the like light armor that's used by like mages and demons. And this one is like when you be attacked as a melee attack, your defense and magic defense increased by 3%. Yeah, a very boring effect as well. So basically, in this summon banner, the most interesting unit, the most interesting gear is this headgear. Is what you really want to summon, and this hammer I think is pretty interesting and it has a potential. And these these both armors are kind of disappointing. Yeah, this will be something you don't want to see when you do the summon. And all these gears you can already get when they released. Like you can already get them from the gambling or from the like dragon trials. So like if you are free to play, I don't really recommend you to like summon these gears unless like if you want to try some specific strategy with this headgear and this hammer. So yeah, that's all about these summons. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Hi everyone, so I have to say sorry, I have to do a patch note for the video because I said something wrong. So for this headgear, you actually gain 10% scale damage dealt after, like, if you didn't do any attack this turn, you will gain 10% damage dealt from scale the next turn. So it is not 8%, it is 10% at maximum level, which is very good. And this hammer is just broken. I think this hammer can synthesize very well if you can still use summon in Season 2 or Season 3. I don't think many people have ever tried that in Chinese server. We will see that in the playoff later. But this hammer really synthesizes very well with summon strategy. So actually, if you kill an enemy, which is kind of hard to trigger, but if your ally units died, you actually gain 20% damage dealt, and it is damage dealt, so it works on both AoE or single target attack or counter attack, like, yeah. And this counter, I mean, yeah, and it's already said like your counter attack, basically it works very great, and this is 20% at maximum level. So basically, if your allies died, your character just like damage dealt increased strictly by 20%, and it can stack with other buffs. And this synthesizes so well with one of the collaboration units, which is Yusuke, right? And if we check his talent is if there is like ally dies, he heal 25% of 25% health points, and that hammer provides you like another 20%. So basically, I think at 6 star here it should be 30%. So basically, if you Yusuke equip that gear, if any ally dies, he heal 50% of health point immediately, and then he gain expect health points. All other states increase 10%, right? Attack increase 10%, defense increase 10%, skill increase 10%, magic defense increase 10%, and then he gains extra 1 mobility and plus 1 range. And this is just super strong, and it lasts 2 turns. So basically, if one of the ally units die, right, he can gain like extra 10% attack and then 20% of damage dealt. And then his skill also very strong, like when he use like his transformation skill, yeah, and he can deal tons of damage. I believe he can kill tanks. And if you don't have tanks, he basically can probably kill any units he can, right? And if you see his troops, he has one of the troop that can have very like great potential in dealing damage. Yeah, he's just amazing. And how to trigger like your allies die near like in a battle? You just do summon, right? He is in the supernatural faction, right? With Gizalov can still summon, although we know that summon strategy doesn't really work in season 2. But then think about it the other way, right? Like you can summon still to like block your enemy, or you can summon to just let your summon units like kill themselves, right? They can deal like Gizalov's units can deal some significant damage before they kill themselves. And then when they kill themselves, your Yusuke just gain extra 20% damage and heal like 50% of health points. That is just amazing. I can see these teams synthesize so well. It's going to be very strong. And also like Basil can have one summon units as well. And his summon units you can just use his summon to like basically yeah, he can only summon like skeletons, so he can just kill himself. But yeah, although I think some people tried this before without the hammer, and it works okay. I mean, it's not working like perfectly good, but it works okay. I mean, with 10% boost in attack, he can still do a significant amount of damage. But now with this hammer, he can do like another extra like 20% of damage dealt. I think this really could be a way to like play in season 2. But we will see if any of the Chinese player is going to use this strategy. But I think this supernatural faction is going to be strong in season 3. Yeah, this is just my prediction. Lots of people think Gizalov is bottom tier. Summons doesn't work. Summons sucks. Yeah, it's I agree. I kind of agree. In season 2, it is not working. But this Shoujo Jessica, I see lots of you guys already see the video of her AoE just a one-shot Steamheart from 4 health points, right? This Shoujo Jessica is super strong, right? This Yulia, right? Tank killer, super strong. Yusuke now with this hammer, can be amazing, right? And Jugular, I don't need to say, best tank in this game. Zareda, you will never put Zareda out of your box, right? Basil, right? One of the top mage. Yeah, this is going to be very interesting. So, if you can get Yusuke this hammer, I believe he can be a true monster. Yeah. So that's all about this video, and thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.